Hey guys, T2RX6 here, back for not a review, but another one of these Let's Fix tutorials. So I've gone ahead and I've unfixed my Heavylabor here, and you can see that his leg will not go straight. So I'm going to show you how to fix that. That's really easy. And the other thing we're going to try to do is we're going to try to fix the legs so I can get more movement than just this. I have a feeling it's only doing that because he's already messed up. So we're going to find out. But let's start with what you need. You're going to need a regular Phillips screwdriver, a set of precision screwdrivers, and if you're going to fix the springs, you're going to need a rotary tool. You can use a knife if you want, but I really don't recommend it because knives are likely to get some fingers cut. I've had a couple of projects that I have cut myself really bad and was fortunate that I didn't have to go to the hospital. So invest in a rotary tool. It costs, whoops, I just dropped it on the ground and broke my blade, so I have to fix that. But they cost like $10 for a cheap one at Walmart or Target, one of those two places. More expensive ones are obviously more expensive, but $10 is going to save you from cutting your hand. We don't need this for now, so let's just get on to the legs. To fix the leg, it's really easy. You're going to lift up the back skirt armor and rotate his leg this way. You can see you have these 4 screws. Now I've gone ahead and already kind of loosened them a little just to save a little bit of time. But pull it out and make sure you keep them in the right order so you're putting the right screws back in the correct places. This top one is going to pop off the upper leg assembly, and it's actually the upper leg here that actually has the problem. And it'll be pretty clear once we get there. And then if your screwdriver won't fit these holes, these are where you're going to need the precision screwdrivers, and I think we're going to need them when we try to tackle the non-working leg components here. Don't ruin your toys by putting too big of a screwdriver into too small of a hole. So after we get this apart, you're just going to kind of pop this apart, and you're going to see it's all going to fall apart because of how we disconnected it. So we can put Heavylabor aside. And now, let's look at this assembly. So what you have here is actually 2 teeth, sets of teeth. And these tabs here are going to be they go into some slots down here. And that's going to be basically what lines it up. And you can see that things don't align 100% correct. This should actually be straight up and down, and that's what causes the problem. So what you're going to do, take this set of teeth off, the outer ones, and you have to kind of bang this little inner set a little bit, and then it'll fall out. You can see on the back you have 4 little grooves, and there's 4 little posts inside there. Not sure how well you can see it. What you want to do is you want to look at the back of here and find these little grooves and rotate it up, and you want to find a spot where basically looking straight at this groove is a depressed part of the tooth on the top. And then you're going to put that back, and it's going to take a couple tries usually. You're going to look at it a number of times. You're going to put that back so that the groove where there's a depression straight at the top is going to be it's going to be straight up, your depressed parts at the top. Now you'll see when we put this back in, we actually can get this straight up and down, which is something you couldn't do. That is the entire fix to fix his leg. Just simply take the spring, and it's just a matter of putting everything all back together again. Take this, thread this together, and just get your right pieces. I'll just start them. I'm not gonna waste the whole time doing it. This is the problem with doing things on camera. It's very hard to get coordinated. So everything, when you're holding, essentially everything you're doing, you're holding away from an arm's length away from your face. And yeah, it's definitely way harder to do anything you have to try to do on camera. So, like I said, put this all together. I'm just gonna cut it right here. You see I'm putting just the 3 screws back, and we'll check out the leg in a minute. Okay, so as you can see, now his leg is straightforward. And that's all just because of that little alignment of those teeth right there. So, now let's get on to the part that I've never done before. So if it looks like I'm struggling, it's probably because I am. So, we're gonna be learning what this is like together. Let's open up. It says the instructions I saw told us to open this on up. And we need smaller screwdriver for the bottom holes here. I know some people are saying, you know, when these toys are so expensive they should be devoid of flaws, but unfortunately these are small production run toys, and you know, I mean, frankly, if Hasbro didn't have the, you know, facilities they had and all the quality control and all that, you know, their stuff would be a lot more expensive in much smaller numbers. Case in point, the masterpieces, which are expensive and fairly flawed for the most part. So, you know, you can't really judge what's going on by the flaws, in my opinion. Oh, I never even realized that went out. So look, we just figured something else. Alright, so it says we disconnect this and we take this all apart. Oh man, we've got a broken toy now. Look, pieces are falling everywhere. That's okay. So we take that apart and we're left with this. So now, my understanding is we take this screw out here. So let's give it a go and see what happens. Alright, that is out. And I don't see anything happening here. So I'm guessing that we have a piece that's gonna have to come out somewhere else. Okay, so this video is definitely going to be a series of cuts, as you might imagine, as I am learning to do this. So what happens is this black piece just disassembles and we're left with this. So now we're down to just the crotch piece here, and this is what we want to open. So in trying to open this, what we need to do is get these little screw covers out, and I'm not sure how we're going to do this. So it looks like we just kind of have to dig in there, and it's just gonna have to be taken out with force. Wow, those are some tough things to get out. I can make them move, but so far I'm not succeeding at pulling them out. Let's try the bottom one here. There's one of them, and that's on the floor somewhere. And let's see if we can't get this top one out. Sucks that we have to do this. That is getting demolished. Let me pull this out and we'll come back. Alright, well there's just no easy way to get that out, and this thing is pretty obliterated now, but fortunately it's got 2 sides, and for the most part that's gonna end up being covered anyway, so that's okay. If this little piece falls out, just so you know where it goes, in the back here at the bottom with the little bar side up, because that's going to be the part that applies a little bit of force to this tooth. So just so you know. So once we got it here, back to using the screwdrivers again, and we can pull this open. If you see pictures online, he has no legs on his, but that's because he was doing the leg fix I showed you earlier. And unscrew this, and we should be able to see the culprit pretty soon. Now actually, the spring mechanism in here is very similar to a G1 spring mechanism. It's the same one that's used by Scattershot, from what I see. So, you got your two legs like this. You can just leave them right in here. What you need is these parts in here. And you can see them, the little gray pieces in here. So what we're gonna do is take our screwdriver and just try to get these out carefully. You see how they're these little square pieces? These nubs are what is contacting your legs, and this should have a flex in it so it can move one way or the other as some force is applied to it. Well, it's a solid square, so there's no room for it to actually move here. And that's what we're going to be fixing in this case. So let's get the other one out too. So, squares. So, the fix is going to be real simple. And this is why we want our rotary tool. Now let's take a look at these gears. Now you can see here, the one little click of motion I have, that piece is gone on this gear. This piece has come along and shredded that part of the gear. So this is why I didn't want to do any more than one piece of movement on this. Hopefully they'll give us replacement pieces like this and replacements of this, which probably means I'm not going to be putting in my little green caps until I know what's going on. So you may want to keep that in mind. But that has happened on both of these, that the one click that I've been able to give the legs have been obliterated by these. So let's fix this now. We're going to take our little rotary tool here, turn it on, and just somewhere towards the middle here, cut this, because now you've given this some flex. And we'll do the same for the other side here, towards the middle. You can almost see where it looks like it should have been cut and maybe it wasn't. So, cut it. And your flex, you're basically going to want to make it, I don't know, like a 1/2 millimeter, essentially, just to give this a little bit of a spring movement. My precision screwdriver mostly fits in until you get to the fat part. This one actually, we're going to cut a little bit more off of, just because it's not flexing enough in my opinion. You want a fair amount of flex, not too much, but you obviously need the pressure from this to hold the leg in its position pretty well. But you want it to be able to move rather freely when any type of pressure is applied to it to get it to rotate around. So, we got that. Let's reassemble everything back together. And we don't even need to do the entire robot to see if this is going to work. So take these, push them all the way down with our screwdriver. Don't forget your waist armor here. And then, if I can find my legs, let's make sure we have them the correct way. One on each side. And then, alright, it's probably going to be easier if I just do this first. Kind of plug it in. I don't know how I'm going to be able to do this on camera. So, the joys of trying to fix something on camera, right? So, take this and carefully get it all together. Nice. And then we can put our screws back. Once we have the screws in, we should be able to test it, like I said. don't go too tight on these screws either, because you're just putting them in the plastic. You're not trying to, torque down any metal. You want it tight so it's not flopping in half, but loose enough that, but not tight enough that you're breaking any of the plastic that it's screwing into on the inside. Now look at that, we got a much nicer ratchet that's still strong. I mean, he's not going anywhere. But you can see once we get to actually the middle one, it just like flops around because of where the gear broke. But that's not, before when you snapped it the first time it would go snap like real hard. So it's definitely fixed now. So now it's just a matter of putting it back together, which you're just going to follow the reverse order. So I'm not going to go ahead and waste time with that. I'm going to do it off camera and we'll be back in a second. Okay, so we have them all back together, and now you can see he can get some pretty decent poses going on thanks to the fix. Now, you are going to have, if you leave those cover pieces, this little screw showing. So what you probably want to do is take your piece here, and you can plug it in on an angle so you have at least a little bit exposed. So mine is in, but I'm not gonna put it in flush, so that way all it's gonna take is a bit of a screwdriver on the side and it's gonna pop right out, and that's gonna save you the hassle. The reason that I had such a hard time getting it out previously was just because when it got pushed in, it was entirely flush, so there was nothing to get the screwdriver under. And I think I just made that one flush, so that kind of stinks. But, oh well, we'll see what happens. Maybe I'll get new pieces. But that was the problem, is it was all entirely flush and there was just nothing you could do to take it out. So, Heavylabor is fixed. He looks good. He's got posability. Nothing's gonna break. He's still rather able to hold his pose. I mean, that's not snapping around. That is now, just because that's the broken tooth, but once you get past that broken tooth, it's not going anywhere. So now you know how to fix your Heavylabor right out of the box, and you won't have this broken tooth. And hopefully if they give us a replacement piece, you know how to fix it. So this is T2RX6, I hope you guys found that useful, and I will see you next time. One more little tip before we go. If yours is flush, now when my first one was flush, it was way recessed, so there wasn't much I could do. But if yours is a little more flush to the top, what you can do is just push on a side until it only pops the side down, and then pop it on out, as you now have given yourself clearance to get a screwdriver on one of the edges. So that's all. See you guys.